I think I've just locked myself out. Hello guys, how's it going and welcome to this video. As you can probably tell from the intro, today I'm going to be trying camera tricks. Of course, I'm not against the idea of camera tricks. I've taught a camera trick here on YouTube and I've also performed quite a few every so often. I don't think that they're a bad thing, and I don't think they're something that magicians need to be scared of, because some people are scared of camera tricks. They think that they're hurting the industry of magic and that it's a morally wrong way of performing magic. I don't believe this personally. I think that it's just another method. I don't think using a camera cut or a bit of camera editing is any more morally wrong than using a double lift when you claim you're just turning over one card. Really, there's no difference. You're just lying to your audience in a different way. With all the morals put to one side, I am going to try and perform some camera tricks today. I'm going to experiment with different ways of using the camera and video editing software to my advantage to make me look like a better magician. I have been editing videos for quite some time, and I've also been doing magic for quite some time. So to combine those two things in a way that I haven't done before, that's going to be a little bit of a challenge. I need to think about a few different things. Props, first of all. I've got a deck of cards here. I think that might be a good prop. But also, I think the props are just going to be me and the surroundings. I don't think I'm going to think too much about doing card tricks or coin tricks or anything like that. I am going to try my best to just use what I have. I have filmed myself doing the running through glass effect, and I think it's a really good intro actually, so it's actually going to be the intro to this video, which means you guys will already have seen it. I think it's a good intro because when you think about making videos of any kind, there needs to be some sort of narrative. Narrative is so important because even if your video doesn't have a story, it still has a narrative. So if you're doing a magic trick, there's no story in that, but there is still a narrative. There is still beginning, middle, and end. Maybe there's a few parts to it. So if you're doing a trick like this, running through glass, okay, maybe the beginning is I'm outside the glass, the middle is I'm going through the glass, and the end is I'm on the other side of the glass. However, I want to add a little bit more meaning to that. So I decided to go with the idea of getting locked out of the glass house. So a bit of acting, of fumbling with the door, and then me explaining, I think I've locked myself out. That is then providing reason for me to have a magical solution of running through glass, rather than just me walking up, running through the glass. That would be cool, that would be nice. But what's even better for an audience is to give this some real world reason why I would want to do this. So you can see here that the way I've edited this is quite simple. I film myself outside, I do my little bits, my explanation, I've locked myself out, and then I take a run up to the glass. And the way that I did this was I actually ran a little bit slower than it looks in the video because I don't want to come crashing into the glass genuinely at full speed, because I will go through it for real and probably cut an eye out or something. So I run a little bit slower, and in the edit I can always speed that up to make it look like I really am accelerating towards that at a speed that would, break the glass. And then I simply go through the door. That's the awkward bit. That's the bit that I'm going to cut out. I'm not acting there. I just open the door, and once I get to the other side, back in the same position I was on the other side of the glass, and I carry on. And again, that's sped up so that it looks like I've still had that momentum of the run all the way through the glass. But of course I haven't. I'm just going from stationary and doing a bit of a sort of tumble. So yeah, that is a very, very simple first camera trick. I want to do something with shadows though. That was an idea I had. So let's see what we can do with shadows. The idea I originally had for this, to do magic with shadows, is to show that my shadow is moving and real, and then freeze my shadow and move my hand. And in the edit, I'm basically going to cut around the shadow, keep that frame of the video still while my hand moves. So I'm basically going to split the video into two. We'll get to that in a second. I first of all need to film to edit. That's something I would really recommend. Film to edit is such an important piece of advice, and it's something that we don't always follow, and I'm taking digs at myself here because when I started out making videos and editing videos, I didn't follow this bit of advice. I did not film to edit. I just filmed randomly and I thought I will sort it out in the edit. which meant that a lot of my earlier edits ended up being really clunky, really messy, and they didn't flow together. Nowadays, whenever I film, I'm always thinking about the edit. I'm being kind to my future self here because I'm making the shots easier to edit and easier to flow together. Take this shot from my last video where it looks like there are 3 of me. That is a classic example and quite a simple example of filming to edit. Because what I did there was I set the camera in one corner, I had to be spread out so I could do a similar effect to what I'm trying to do here with a shadow, which is a split frame. So I'm going to split the frame into 2 here rather than 3 when there were 3 of me. Just need to work out the angles though, because the shadow is quite a difficult thing to get right. I think I've found the perfect spot, because when I'm here, the shadow is over here. You can see that there is a clear defined line, which is right, coincidentally, along these 2 tiles. So if I'm over here, and I move like this, my shadow is completely separate. So they're not going to overlap. I can't make my arm and the shadow overlap. So I think this is the perfect spot. What I'm going to do now is film the bit that I want to edit. Okay, let's try this. Let's film. Now I start my trick. I show that they're connected, then I stop. Then I move my hand, and then I stop, and the shadow are back connected. I can prove that it's real. There we go. Okay, now it's time to edit the shadow trick. So essentially what I want to do is split the frame into 2. And to do that, we are going to duplicate the clip and draw around the section of the shadow. Now I filmed this really easily, so as you can see, there's a clear section I can just click around to isolate the shadow bit from myself. And then I can control that separately as to how I want that to appear. So as you can see here, I'm going to take one single frame and stretch it right out so that that frame stops completely. It just looks like that movement just stops, but the whole frame will appear to keep moving because the right side of the video is still moving. However, the entire left side has frozen completely in the edit. Okay, I think my work is complete, so let's take a look at the finished product. Now I start my trick. I show that they're connected, then I stop. Then I move my hand, and then I stop, and the shadow are back connected. And I can prove that it's real. There we go. Okay, I have come up with another idea. This is called the vanishing card in midair. I'm going to take a playing card and completely vanish it from this position very cleanly. Watch the card. You see, I just drop it and it completely disappears. And that is the vanishing card. So how did I do that? Alright, so this one is one of my favourites, the vanishing card. And the reason it's so good is it really looks like it's disappearing into the background. It just looks like it's falling out of reality. The way I'm doing this is quite similar to the last one, so I'm doing that frame duplication again so that I can section off part of the video. And the part of the video I'm sectioning off, as you can see, is just below the card. I'm keeping that bit the same as it was before the vanish, during the vanish, so that that bit is sort of almost acting as camouflage for where the card is just going to fall. So in the actual video, all I'm doing is just letting go of the card. And in the edit, I'm using the bit below the card to hide that fall. It's like I'm just cutting and sticking bits of reality. I'm taking one moment in time, cutting it out and sticking it below where the card falls to hide that completely. And the visuals end up looking really cool. But if you want to see what that footage looked like before I did all the editing to it, this is literally what it looks like. Alright, moving on to the next bit of footage that I'm going to edit. Aha, this is the card through table. For this trick, we just need one card. We do not need the rest of the deck at all. So we'll just take one card at random, the 8 of hearts. The 8 is going to go right through this table. This is a solid metal table. Now watch the 8. See, I'm just going to place my hand underneath and one hand, in fact, not one hand on top. Because if I could really do this, then it would look something like this. That card melts all the way through the table. And that is card through table. So how did I do that? First of all, acting is really, really important. So if you want to do card food table like I did just then, it is all about acting. So I could just appear with one card, place it there, put my hand underneath, the edit happens, and the card is then underneath, okay? I could just do it like that. But again, I want to make this really, really convincing. And so rather than just doing the camera trick, I'm gonna add some layers onto it that really pushes this home that this is not a camera trick. So I spread the deck, and I have a card selected as if it is a normal trick. And this is how a lot of tricks start when they're done on camera, but they are not a camera trick. So we're really convincing people, this isn't the camera trick. Look, I've had a card selected as if you were here. I place it down, I place one hand underneath, and I want to make people think this is going to be a normal trick. So I come over with my other hand, and I go, no, actually, we won't put the other hand on top, because if I could really do this, it would look like this. And I can even say things like, you know, once it's underneath, I can even say things like, if you were here, you could feel that the table is solid. That's not a lie, that isn't a lie, the table is solid. If you were here, you would feel that the table's solid. I'm not directly saying if you were here, it would look exactly like this, but I am saying you could examine the card, you could examine the table, both of which are true. The more impressive you make it, often the less convincing it is as an actual trick. So for instance, if I were to take this card, lie it flat, snap my fingers, and it rolls up into a cocoon and then turns into a butterfly, that would obviously be a camera trick. That would just be ridiculous. It would be one step too far. You know, I couldn't throw this card, have it turn into a ball of flame, and have a little mini dragon crawl out. You know, as cool as that might look, it would just look like a camera trick. You've got to have it at the right level to be convincing as an actual trick. Okay, so how did I edit this trick though? Once all the acting is done, how do I actually make this into the effect that you see using the video editing software? And this is actually one of the most complicated ones. Although it looks like a simple trick of card on top, card underneath, there's actually quite a lot more going on here. There are really two elements to this, and the first one is a fade, just a simple fade between two shots. The first shot is card on top of the table, and the second shot, as you guessed, is card underneath. That is what I thought this would be, just a simple fade. But actually, in doing that, that would also fade the entire shot. It would fade my body, it would fade from this position to that position, and it just looks weird. So what I've had to do here, as you can see, is I've had to cut around my entire body, the sort of part of the background that is affected by this movement of me getting the card from the top to the bottom. So once that cut is done, I can then have that across both shots, have the fade occur underneath, and that fade will then only affect the card and a bit of the table. And then we have the finished product. So quite a complicated thing, and in the end, quite a simple effect. Thank you very much for watching this video. I had a ton of fun experimenting with these different camera tricks. I would love to revisit this at some point and come up with some more ideas. Let me know in the comments which one was your favourite, which one you'd like to see me try other variations of, and if you've done camera tricks in the past or you have ideas yourself, leave those in the comments. As usual, I will be replying to as many as I possibly can. If you've watched to this point of the video, then you might like my channel, so you can watch some of the other videos that I've made in the past, and you can subscribe so that you don't miss any videos in the future. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.
I think you're gonna have to be. We're gonna have to go.